This is the Manufacturing Automation Podcast. I'm Michael.
And I'm Matt. In this podcast, we're going to discuss growing companies, automation and manufacturing,
and how we're building the lives and businesses we want to see in the world.
All right. Thanks for those active listeners. We're back on the map this week. Don't forget to like, subscribe, share this with your friends, family if you're enjoying it. So thank you for that. And we're going to kick it off with our general feelings of the week, roll into our sales and marketing, what's happened in engineering and R&D, and what we're doing for company-wide updates and improvements. And lastly, a little bit of an accountability check-in for Matt and Michael, kind of like a weekly task or personal segment. So do you want me to go with general feelings of the week, or do you want to go?
Yeah. Let's have you start. I always start.
Yeah. I think one of them is relief isn't the right word, but it's just I'm seeing a lot of teammates taking a lot of aspects of my day-to-day tasks off my plate, because we had set a goal of how do we make it so Matt can be on the road or out of the office up to 4 days a week. And creating that goal created a cascading effect of me seeing a lot of things just get peeled off my plate over the last several weeks, which was really encouraging to see the way the team took that challenge, because they see how it can impact our long-term sales and business development. So relief or encouragement of some more growth opportunities to come is probably the best way to put it.
Yeah.
Because I think one key takeaway from that is by being able to be outside of the office more. There was, for one example, 2 weeks ago, I made a random stop in because I was on the road going by a facility that we had quoted a project for 3 years ago. I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to go knock on their door. I'm going to go see if our lead's there. He actually came out, was really friendly, gave me a facility tour really quick, and found out the project that we had bid 3 years ago still isn't working. And now I've had a second on-site with them to evaluate other automation projects, and they're coming to our facility this week to evaluate some more automation, because they saw what we're building and it directly correlates to what they need now. So just literally being able to be out of the office a little bit more and not worrying about racing back created an opportunity that I probably wouldn't have just swung in and stopped at that facility.
Right.
So yeah, I don't know. It really made me excited to see something like that come full circle, because we can get into it in sales and marketing. Because when we lost that deal a couple of years ago, it was one of those, like, you really question a few things.
Yeah, for sure.
So what about yourself, Michael?
Yeah, that's always relief is the right word, I think. So, I've kind of been struggling. I think we had a very weak August. Normally I think we're kind of break even or slightly profitable, depending, because, I'm pushing for growth. August was kind of a shit show, and, I think I really needed a vacation. So I had my business owners kind of retreat group. So there's like a mandatory retreat. So we all went to Puerto Vallarta in Mexico. And then, that was 3 days.
It was like a really tough mandatory event.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, absolutely. It was terrible.
Yeah.
And then, Priscilla basically met me down there. We were in PV, and then we moved to Punta Mita because our resort kind of sucked. And then we were supposed to leave on Thursday, and we ended up leaving Saturday.
Okay.
And we have a tendency to extend vacations, which is
how does that work with like your random airfare and then your hotels? I've never done that. That is just like a random thing to extend a vacation.
To extend vacations?
Yeah.
Oh, you pay too much. Yeah, I mean, I think I'm like an optimist, and this is a whole other thing that I've been thinking a lot about, of me being too critical of the business, and not solving systems. Right. I guess I'll finish out the trip. Like, the trip was great, but I got strep throat.
Oh, man.
At least it was really easy to get antibiotics in Mexico.
Are you sure you got what you asked for?
Oh, man. I don't know. The strep went away pretty quick, but I'm still like really nasally. And Priscilla got sick. Someone tried to steal her identity. Yeah, but still, it was a really, really nice trip. And, I think I got a lot out of it. And, you've been on me, and I've been saying I need to get perspective on the business. And I think this was, every time I step away, right?
That's the only way I've found to get perspective, is like, I think I'm going to do it on the weekend. Yeah, Sunday mornings can be a little bit of it, but it's just not enough time. Like, you need a chunk of time to really detach. So I'm glad you got
for sure. Like a bunch of stuff happened. Like little, nuggets or things that people in the business owners group said to me, or things that I realized. Like one thing that came up was everyone was talking about like their exit strategy, right? And I was kind of like, hey, I don't really have an exit strategy. But at the same time, I've been asking myself, why isn't the automation business growing, right? And it has been growing, but not at this, it's kind of been tapering off in speed. And I've been kind of looking at like, okay, well, what systematic things are wrong? And I kind of realized by not having that longer term goal, I haven't been as aggressive. And, I think the big thing I've been asking is, how am I complicit in the things I say I don't want? I say I want growth, and how am I holding the business back? And you look skeptical.
Well, you're saying, how am I complicit? Say that line again. I'm just making sure I'm understanding.
It's from some business book, but the phrase is, how am I complicit in the things that I say I don't want? Right. So like, what am I doing that's undermining the things I do want?
I see.
Right?
Okay. I just wanted to make sure I understood what you're saying there correctly. Thank you.
Yep. So kind of thinking to that end, I have realized, hey, maybe the exit strategy isn't, try to sell the company for X dollars and have, X times 50% dollars post-tax or whatever. But there needs to be a plan, a goal to really push things, right? Mm-hmm. And I don't know about you. I think it's definitely worse this year, but I had more customer bullshit in August than I've ever had. Like lots of different people not paying their bills, kind of BS reasons. And, I think something kind of snapped in me because I had so many customers doing this. And I realized, like accountability has been a big theme. I'm bringing accountability onto the team, more onto me. And I hadn't really done the same for our customers. I realized I've been kind of too nice, letting things happen, on the one T&M client, letting balances go negative, just being too understanding and gracious when clearly I think we were just being taken advantage of. And I realized, hey, this is causing a lot of these cash flow problems. And then all of a sudden it just became, nope, line in the sand, your project's delayed. You haven't paid your bill, right? And, all of a sudden, like a huge amount of AR comes in and everything's normalized, right? And everything's on the right track. And then I started asking, well, where am I doing this in other places, right? And I think just putting goals together, rolling out standards, making sure everyone comes in at the same time, doing little things like saying, okay, well, our mix of work has changed. We probably need to standardize start times, get rid of work from home, get another engineer, right? All of these things have kind of, I got a lot of perspective, and they're things I've concluded I should have done at various points before, but never really rolled out. And yeah, I think there's a whole other aspect of, I saw the guys on the shop floor do things I wouldn't normally expect them to do, just at a higher level, doing CIs themselves, doing those things because I wasn't there, and kind of me realizing, hey, we had this one problem with this one employee jumping in and solving everybody else's issues, which has since kind of been resolved. But I realized to a lesser degree, I've been doing the same thing, right? So I don't know. I just have gotten a lot of perspective, realized there's a lot I need to plan and change. And it's just generally been great, I think.
I'm not sure how to follow that one up.
Well, we can follow it up by rolling into sales and marketing.
No, I like where you're coming from. What I think I like most, Michael, is I feel like over the last, how long have we been doing this? A year?
I don't even know. I think a year and a half.
Yeah, maybe. I like where you're settling in, where I think you were bouncing around a lot previously. I think you're really honing in on a direction. And I think that's what I like most about that, is it's not the special of the week, if you will. Week's the wrong way to put it, but you get the analogy. So I really like it. Please take it as a compliment. That's how I meant it. Sometimes I deliver compliments bad.
And I think a lot over time is, I got into business so young. I think like a lot of the overexcitement and lack of maturity has led to me going in all these different directions, which has led to a lot of cool stuff, being built and invented, but maybe not the business being the core and the business being secondary, right?
Yeah. To compound on that, it's like, it's when the boring becomes fun in business is when you're onto something. I don't know where I heard that, but I really like that line, because that's what we're talking about, is some of the most boring stuff if we would have talked to ourselves 5 years ago and said, hey, this is what you're going to be doing. You're like, no way. that's not it. But it's starting to get fun. Like you said, building out the SOPs,
Yeah.
building out these processes, because we see the growth that comes from it.
Right.
So
For sure.
sales and marketing. Do you want to go first? I went first on.
No. You were all into sales and marketing.
All right. It was a heavy week. We have had back weeks, and I don't think it's going to be letting up on, because of the team taking so much operations, taking day to day of the floor off my plate. I basically have two buckets. It's sales marketing kind of as one, and then the other one is SOPs and a little bit of team guidance is really where I'm focusing. But personally, I had to look back. I logged 27 hours just to sales this week, and most of that was pitching deals, following up with high value clients, or sharing to the team what my expectations were for the proposals that we're putting together. Because for context, this was an insane last couple of weeks where we're going to have put together 11 proposals in the last week and a half. And then next week is looking like a very equivalent one. Something's broken loose in our market, and some of the deals that were stale are coming back to the top of the plate, and we're revising them, which isn't counting as what I just said there. But it's been really interesting to see that. I think the biggest win is, like I said, stopping in at that one facility, and now that's turned into 2 quotes that we're putting together because of a random stop in, them not happy with the integrator they chose 3 years ago. That was, for context, we bid the project at 1.3, they bid it at 0.8 million. So $500,000 delta. There's a reason that the cell is sitting in a pile of parts.
Yeah, well, that's never good to see.
But it helped reinforce, because I know when we lost that bid, I questioned a lot of things. I was like, are we just looking at something wrong? And it's like, no, I'm really glad we stuck to the way we were bidding that project and the way we've been doing our projects, because we firmly believe in high value integrations, and holding our customers' hands is the wrong word, but we want that kind of white glove experience, if you will. And the only way you can do that is being a little bit on the premium side.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's kind of the bulk of my sales, if you will. Marketing, I have some fun stuff that I can share, but I will.
Well, why don't we do like sales right now? Because that makes me think of a lot of stuff, and we'll roll into marketing.
Go for it.
I think similar in a way. When you said, hey, they chose just a vendor that was $500,000 cheaper, obviously a substantial number. Now, I think I've gotten the perspective of, like, first off, something has broken loose in the market. Things are just easier now. But also, I've been reading the book, The Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck, which I've read before, but it never really stuck with me.
I've never read that one.
And I've gotten this advice multiple times from multiple people much farther along in business of, you care too much, you try too hard, you get in your own way, right? And that is very true. I think we both
I can resonate with
have that a little bit. Yeah, we're like getting upset and not just drawing a line in the sand and sending a chain of emails back and forth rather than just saying, sorry, we're not doing anything to advance your project until you pay your bill, right? And sales is something I realize I've been tryharding in kind of negative ways. And I think, yeah, you're closing more deals, but you're also closing more bad deals. And
what do you mean by that?
That's something I think. Well, for instance, you can get tension with clients who don't align, right? If you're chasing deals because it's a down market.
I thought you were saying context. You said you as in, I took that as me. So, okay.
No, sorry.
No, you're good.
Yeah.
Yeah, as in, if you try too hard for the deal, it wasn't meant to be.
Right.
Yeah.
So like in that position in that deal, and obviously this is just hypothetical, but if you said, oh, we're going to do it for 900,000 or something, and which, the doing, too big a discounts or following up with a customer too much who's a dead lead, or, even I've been guilty over the last couple of months of like putting too much work into deals that are too likely to not go anywhere.
Yeah, I know I've done that.
And the close rate goes up, right? And then those are the deals, those customers that have a million objections, they're the ones who are the worst customers, right? They're probably the worst fit for your business. And so I kind of just zoomed out and said, okay, we have good products. Like, what are the things that we can do that are systematic, right? That where I'm not trying to do a bajillion sales calls. I'm just not try harding, right? For lack of a better phrase. And I think being on vacation kind of forced that. And it made me look at, okay, first off, I'm not doing calls, right? I'll answer a just call every once in a while, which is our like VoIP service. But yeah, it changed my perspective because I didn't see a deal, a number of deal drop. I think our top of funnel has been increasing. And yeah, I guess, you're talking right now about how you're logging 27 hours in sales, and I'm kind of looking at it in the other direction of, okay, we have a lower value product, an order of magnitude lower, right, on price point, and still expensive. We might do a $50,000 integration. I need to be putting a tenth as much effort into each deal, right? And I don't think that's been true.
Yeah, I think what's really interesting for me is we've started. So there was 2 deals this week where the question came up of, do we even quote this?
Yeah.
Like that was just a very valid question. And then we asked, why are we saying that? And then deciding on the best course of action. For instance, one of the projects that came through, I'm estimating it's a whale. It's an $8 million size project. And the question was, do we bid this or was it outside of Develop's current size? And so the answer came down to, yes, we'll bid it with some caveats and then look for somebody to potentially partner with on it. Was the way we kind of looked at it. So I made some calls to some other integrators in the space to kind of see if that would be in their wheelhouse that we've built some relationships around. But at the other end of it, it was, how do we put as little effort into this proposal as possible, because we see it as being able to drain our energy from the higher value ones that Develop can just execute ourselves. So we're viewing it more as an exercise rather than we want to close this project. How do we set up a relationship with one of these vendors that if an opportunity like this comes and it perfectly aligns, we can do it with them.
Yeah. And those are the deals like highest upside, highest downside, right? I had one of those deals that, it was supposed to be basically 100% over the course of a year of what our current revenue was, and ended up being, over double that. But then, that customer hit financial hardship, and, that when they're that big of a percentage of your revenue, that means you're laying people off. Right?
Yeah, it's a position I don't want to go after a project that size. The other one is how do you be transparent with them and say, hey, this is going to be a relationship we're going to have to build together. Your machine might take longer than other suppliers, but you're going to get a different experience because we know the other people we're bidding against, they're massive compared to us. You will be a number. They're not in the same state as you, stuff like that.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, I think the other thing that really happened is, I realized I've been like putting my head against the grindstone trying to generate new deals. And I just asked, why am I doing this, right? Like, why am I going after these less than ideal deals? Like, and really the answer was that I was letting, it's never been this much, but I think I've had a problem of, maybe not being as confrontational as I should when people are just taking advantage, right? In one case, I had a customer literally face to face tell me, we will pay these 2 bills. And then, literally 3 days when we're not on site anymore, it's like, nah, we're not going to pay these until this other milestone happens. I think having enough of these happen at once made me say, nope. And I actually, at that point, I actually went back into the whole EOS thing, and I'm like, here are our core values. And realized I haven't been holding customers accountable. As soon as that changed, I didn't feel this enormous pressure to chase these bad deals, right? So it's almost weird, like, I've been chasing deals and being overly aggressive in sales, and only because we weren't collecting on what should have been earned revenue, right?
Yeah, I feel you there. I've seen the same thing of delayed payments and excuses for not. I had an interesting one this week where customer claimed they thought our rate was lower than what they signed, and I had to pull up the contract in a virtual meeting and discuss with him, like, no, this is what it is. And then he tried to tell me that we're overpriced for our market. And I'm like, well, we just had XYZ X number of customers just start projects with us in the same market we're talking about. And I'm like, I think what you need to do is we're going to end this call and you reflect whether Develop's adding value to your project, and we'll decide if we work together moving forward. Yeah. Like that was a conversation. It's interesting you're having these, but I wasn't even going to share that conversation on the pod today, but that was one of those where I was like, I was like insulted the wrong way, but it's like, we already signed the contract. We already agreed to it. You asked for a bunch of work expedited. We delivered. And now you're having an issue with what it cost you.
Yeah.
But you're happy with what you got.
Yeah. Yeah. Same deal with us. We had an expedite, and then of course the customer messed something up on how the machine was spec'd. They pointed fingers at this other vendor who turns out to have done a few minor things wrong, but it was primarily the customer speccing the machine wrong. And now there's what, 40 grand AR or something that shouldn't have been there. I had another customer just run an auto door completely out of spec, lie about it. They just doubled the pressures they were supposed to run. It's like, okay, here, maybe 3 months ago I would have just sent a tech out for free. And I'm like, nope, here are our service rates. We know you broke this. It's out of warranty. And yeah, it just feels nice.
Yeah.
I just feel relieved right now.
Yeah, I think on the positive side of the negative that I just shared there was we've had since we're working with larger and larger companies now, we're getting far more requests for reference lists because we're building higher CapEx projects and they're just wanting a larger reference list. This week I got 2 messages from past clients because they're on a reference list saying, hey, I just got off the phone with XYZ. I told them about how you got our project delivered over a month early. We've been thrilled with the fact that it has the uptime beyond what we had expected. And then they have had a couple things, minor wear and tear items that, it's a mechanical system breakdown. And they're like, your response rate, like we had them back up and running in 24 hours in most instances because, it was either parts they already had because they were wear items or stuff we could work them through. So he gave us a glowing review apparently. And then another one of our clients got a call as well. And he's like, I don't know what the deal is, Matt, but once I was done with the call, apparently they're like, I've called a couple other references, but it sounds like it's yours based on the feedback they're getting from all your clients. So I was like, that's really good to hear because it's one thing what you hear from your clients face to face, but when they say it behind closed doors, I really appreciate it. So
For sure. Yeah.
So that was a big win, or something that excited me a lot this week was to see those things happening because we have several projects that have moved along really well.
Yeah. Yeah. It's funny how like my whole sales section is not going and not really about sales. It's about fixing sales by correcting other issues, right? I think yours is actually about sales.
Yeah, mine's, I don't know.
Do you want to roll into marketing?
Yeah. Have I talked about the new eBook that we're rolling out now?
A little, but not much.
So I drafted the changes I wanted. Been working through. Really, it's a huge tone change. So we wrote the original automation assessment or automation partner book in like a very technical lens. And as I read through it, now that we came up on, it's been out for over a year. I'm like, you know what? This book kind of is blah. Especially now after this huge AI wave, I'm like, this sound, even though it wasn't written with AI, I'm like,
right.
This thing, because it was, before the AI wave and what I was doing, I'm like, this sounds like it was AI almost now at this point because it's just too generic. So now what we're doing is we're revising it and bringing in a lot of analogies, things that I've seen on factory floors, stories from my life. And I'm really quite excited about where it's going because it's definitely having a much larger human touch. And I'm excited about that. And then we're layering in more of the tools that we've built out since we wrote the original review or revision of it. And ideally, we're going to be making more of those tools accessible for people that are earlier in their automation journey. And then we're just going to be gating the really high value IP related stuff that we do.
Yep.
So yeah, I don't know. I'm quite excited about it because I just cruised through the updated outline, and now we got to put in the bodies of it. So,
yeah, it's exciting.
Yeah, and then we had a team member dig into our website speed. I don't know if you want to open up our website. I'd actually appreciate that real time here. Yeah. He spent a good amount of time, found several errors on our website. I'm hoping. Let's see what you get.
It's definitely better.
It's still not good.
Are you looking at? No. Your homepage, I think it looks like your images are like there may be a few too many and they may be a little bit too large.
Okay.
Like it's loading really quickly now. However, the pictures are loading in after.
Okay.
That's the only thing
that's next on his list anyways for next week is image updates and stuff. But
yeah,
He found some really good ways to improve that, and we're going through the process of really enhancing our conversion rate on. We have about somewhere between 5 and 10. I don't know the exact number on the list that are like our highest converting pages. So he is really honing in on focusing on those and boosting those up, which I'm excited about. Like the speed. So that should be coming here in the next 1 to 2 weeks. That should be done.
That's awesome.
Other than that, I can't. We have the trade shows. It's the huge push for the trade shows. That's what's up.
Cool. Yeah, for us, we had a website thing. Oh my God, I can't believe this. I mean, we've seen kind of declining Shopify sales for a while now, and something broke on our website where you just couldn't check out on mobile.
Oh,
which is bad.
Yeah, that's nice. That's actually you see more for your product. It's a mobile purchase.
More people purchase on desktop than not, and we only do like pay-per-click Google ads and whatnot on desktop.
Okay.
But yeah, a fair amount. I mean, the majority of traffic is on mobile. At least the first touch that we get is almost always on mobile, right? Because I think meta ads are our highest converting and most targeted, even though they gone down in order of magnitude and effectiveness over the course of the last year and a half.
AI is definitely cannibalizing that, if you will.
Yeah. But we have seen Shopify sales go up. Putting the button there, I'm sure helped, but just kind of doubling down on what works. I know email marketing works great for us, so we're trying to move those to be less long and more frequent. So we go to once a week. We have an SEO freelancer who is great. Things have been going great with him. Just general improvements, and I'm excited too about having a greater passive sales income. I don't know what combination of factors led to that being a declining portion of revenue overall, but the more sales that we're able to move through, the better, right? One thing too, with the sales bump, I investigated, and I noticed there was actually this correlation. So the small tumble blast, that's the story, right? The product I'd killed.
Yes.
It turns out our SEO was quite good on that page. So I just increased the price by $400. So now it was not a $529, it was a $929, just because the SEO was great on the page. And then I made it inaccessible. Well, it turns out people kept buying them, and I'm like, oh, well, at a 40%, 30% margin, it's not that great. But now at a 60, 70% margin, even if we're building not that many, this is actually a pretty good product. And I think that wasn't even what changed my mind. What changed my mind is seeing two separate decent-sized Shopify transactions where the customer, that were in the automation sector, where the customer had purchased a Tumble Blast 2 years ago, right?
Was this driven by your nurture campaign?
Well, I mean, I don't think we have a proper nurture campaign. We just have a kind of standard newsletter.
Okay.
And then, we're doing, I think Google PPC has been turned all the way off other than the shopping ads. And then we're still doing meta ads, which again need an update. It's like every time we need a better, smoother content generation process.
Yeah. I was just curious about that because we had a deal of another company we haven't talked to in about 2.5 years, and we just launched our nurture campaign. What was that, 2-3 weeks ago? And they were highly engaged with it, and they just requested a site visit. They're coming on site as well this weekend that I can directly track to our nurture campaign.
Yeah,
which is interesting.
Yeah, and tracking is its own beast that hasn't fully been implemented yet. And there's a whole ton of tools to. I'm sure we could actually probably go in at this point and find out. But yeah, at least, yeah. But that's been really refreshing to see, and I kind of consider that marketing. We're releasing YouTube content right now, kind of every week, every other week. There was no Instagram post at all while we were gone, which. Ideally those would have been filmed ahead of time and posted. Yeah, I'm sucking at Instagram now that our intern is not here and we have no Instagram presence. But I've never seen Instagram yield anything tangible for develop. It's just a touch point, man. Yeah. It's just the thing is especially you guys haven't really have you tried meta advertising? Yeah. And I bet it didn't work. It sucked. Right? It was just a great way to burn cash. Now, I think a big reason you think that is because there's not content to engage with, right? You get a potential customer engaging with the content. When they're engaging with that content, Facebook is much more likely to show that customer the ad, right? So the more social media presence, the more posts you have across Instagram and Facebook, the better your Facebook or your Meta ads are going to perform, like by orders of magnitude.
Interesting. Okay. I never knew that aspect.
But at least for us, it's been the best converting, best lead gen outside of trade shows.
Interesting.
Trade shows are better.
Yeah. I'm with you there. There's something about meeting face to face with potential leads and the trust that comes with that.
Yep. But yeah, I think just kind of, I guess this is a thing with just like general accountability. Seeing the guys on the floor find things to do, work on CIs. Yeah, I kind of realized, hey, we're not actually like that slammed. We just had chaos. And we felt that slam because we were generating things to do by aggressively selling less than ideal deals because we weren't correct, like as properly as we should have, having a process to collect AR, right? And we weren't just, oh, here's a line in the sand, you haven't paid your bill, progress has stopped. We will resume when your bill has been paid. So I think that let a lot of calm just kind of percolate through the company. I think there's nothing worse than a cash flow issue, right? And it's made it easier for me to think clearly and prioritize. And I'm like, okay, even if we're not doing 5 Instagram posts, only doing 3, if that means we're doing another email marketing campaign, another 2 every month, those work, right? Like those work better than, those convert to real sales in a traceable way that Instagram does not.
For sure.
But yeah, I guess the other big thing with accountability, we've been taking on more outside vendors and, having them do more work. And I think I've just seen like, some of them were sending so much work, like they're almost an employee, right?
Nothing wrong with that. I mean,
no, there's nothing wrong with it.
It might mean you're just catching up that much right now.
No, I don't think so. It means we've moved from bigger vendors that we had bigger problems with to like excellent smaller ones. But it means you got to put a lot of work into the trust. It's like the minute those small vendors send us an invoice, like, okay, you're on net 30, we schedule the ACH right now, right? Whereas the big vendors, it's like, okay, it's going to be the 15th or the 30th. But once that trust is there, like we're having such great luck with it. And the big thing I've been seeing is just an accountability pull as opposed to an accountability push, right? Like I am becoming the obstacle in a lot of these cases. Like this is the example with our SEO guy. It's like, well, I need you to do this. I need you to do this. I need you to do this. And even when I fail to provide him the thing he says he needs, he pivots to something else and does something productive, right? And I'm just realizing like I really need to cultivate exclusively that kind of staff within like the direct organization to really to get everything to take off the way I want it to.
Yeah, it starts working yourself out of a job. It's quite exciting to see that, where it's like, I'm no longer needed on this, I'm no longer needed on that. It's liberating. It gives you that bandwidth to think like you're thinking, which is great, Michael.
Yep. And I know it's going to be harder with employees because like, it's harder for it to be a pull, right? You have more direct interactions with your boss, and as a freelancer, like you have to perform, right? Because the work will just stop as opposed to continuing to flow. Mm-hmm. But it has really inspired me to say, hey, like obviously these freelancers are making a lot more. It's kind of led me to like, oh, these couple key positions, like I need to put, where I was putting $100,000 of payroll, I need to put 200 or 300, right? And trust that, the top line will move in situ, right?
Say that again. I don't know if I'm understanding your payroll context there.
So I guess like there have been some positions where, we've had freelance work done. And, we've also had, in the past or, even presently that work done by an employee. And, we're generally hiring, I think a higher tier of freelancer, than, we would as an employee because we do it when we're in a pinch mostly. Right. And, one of the things I've seen is that, okay, now these things are happening a lot faster, and it has kind of enlightened me of, oh, I need to be hiring probably a higher caliber of people in some key positions. So if I had before allocated, $100,000 for one position, maybe it should be $200,000 or $300,000 for 2 positions. And then, the flow of work opens up, it basically like that's the constraint. Like right now we have an engineering constraint. And, if I can systematically solve that problem, then I can allow far more work to flow through it. I guess that's where I'm going with it, kind of flow everywhere, but there's a cost to it. But that cost is worth it, which I think is another. I think a lot of bootstrapped companies have that issue of like really struggling to pay a guy $140 a year. Right?
It's because the lack of understanding the leverage, I think, is what you're really saying here is, well, it might cost more. You get far more leverage, and you don't have to manage them as much.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I get you.
So it's just like a change of perspective. It doesn't have a ton to do with marketing, I guess, but
makes sense. All right. Engineering and R&D.
Cool. Oh, there's nothing.
There's nothing. All right. I don't have a whole lot either.
Yeah.
So, do you have anything else in marketing before we move on then?
Well, I guess with engineering and R&D, I think I'm trying to like embrace calm right now. We had a couple, we had like a lot of urgency on this interload thing, which, but then the customers didn't pay their bills, and now it's like, okay, well now this is going to be shifted out, and now I'm not worried about it. I think being assertive with that was very eye-opening for me. Of like, hey, I'm not just going to continue on this track of trying to get a rush install slot in if you're not going to pay, the milestone that's been completed 3 weeks ago, right? But just actually generally a bunch of paused projects, or like scheduled farther out projects. We were supposed to do a trade show demo that was like the intraload, like moving around, to basically, we restrict it in one axis when we can demonstrate how the intraload works. And, I'm like, West Tech is like 15, 20 days away. Like that is so stupid. Just generally going after calm has been where my head has been at. So I've intentionally been pausing R&D projects right now.
Okay.
Until everything is as smooth as I want, until we're staffed out with the right caliber of person, and also trying to be patient, knowing like that's going to take a while, right?
Engineering or R&D costs a lot. So
yeah, it does.
That's fair.
Yep.
Mine's nothing crazy. It's the standard HMI stuff. I heard a good line on an audiobook I was listening to is we've really gone from where this was like a prototype ecosystem of not necessarily, what's a better way to put it? It was prototype ecosystem, but we've gone through a huge revision now, which got applied to the MRS, got applied to 1701 project, and everything we've learned from the past and made it extremely industrial code. So now it's a lot easier to debug, and a lot faster. So while the other code was, we could reach stability and it was functional for machines, now what we have is, after this rebuild across the HMI ecosystem that we've done for the MRS and the 1701 project, it's much faster to do the debugging, but then also leverage it into new projects was the huge win that we've gotten out of that. And it's interesting to say that like the teams like Matt, we have nothing else that we really want to do to this ecosystem other than apply it to more machines at this point. And it's the same thing with the hardware side of it and the entire MRS product, which is just really exciting. So that is fun. That was the best way that I could think about it, because I just heard that line this week and I'm like, that's exactly what the team's saying to me. And then the other one was we had 1701 customer on site. The entire machine's been built, all the IO's been tested, and now we're bringing it up to rate, which is really exciting. And they were thrilled to see it. That was quite exciting to have them there to see that, because we haven't traditionally done a, hey, your machine's assembled, come on site, see it before it's hitting rate. It made it very tangible to how much work's been happening in the last several months since they signed off on the CAD aspect of it, and then what's coming next. And they could see like, all right, there was a lot of work. And so it was fun to do that phase. And we're really enjoying leaning further into having our customers come on site more and more, and just being more open door about these high CapEx projects.
Yeah. Awesome.
So that's really all I have for engineering and R&D that I come up with.
I guess I have one more thing, and I guess it's going to be kind of like an ad, but I've realized that I need to stop being like the person who is also the head of engineering, right? And I've kind of realized like, okay, we have engineering talent, I'll jump in when there's an issue, but really I've been leading all of our engineering and R&D efforts, and that needs to stop. I need to set the directive of this is the kind of thing.
That's
I appreciate that.
That's
Matt.
me clapping here. Yeah. I'm really happy you're reaching there. It will not be as easy as you're probably going to make the rest of the sentence sound, but
No, it's not. But I guess here's the ad part is like right now we're looking for head of engineering. You know, the comp is 90 to 150 grand a year. And really it's someone who, you know, first off knows SolidWorks, who, you know, ideally I can, as we grow, put people underneath you know, there's already going to be, you know, 1 or 2 staff members pretty much immediately put underneath this person to really lead the engineering effort, where it's like, okay, the directive is to make this improvement or to, you know, make this prototype of the extra load, right? Or the external pallet loader is supposed to come out next year. And that I'm not pushing, that I'm not messing with SolidWorks, that I'm not personally doing every design review, that I'm setting the directive, doing a sanity check, it goes to production and it gets built, right? And we're looking for that person.
I have one pushback on the way you described that role. You said that they would immediately be getting people put underneath them within the role.
Well, so, you know, so yes, yes and no. It's like, okay, you know, there'd be some engineering staff that, you know, would report to this person, but it's not going to, that will obviously be a transitionary period, right?
Yeah. I'd set that as a goal in the future for them, or an expectation would be the one thing I would say there. Something Merlin Advisors, a line that they told me a while back is, you know, or not, you know, I don't know why I said that, but trust is earned, it's not given. And so I think you need that new engineer to earn the trust of leading other engineers within your company. And then as you go through that transitionary point, you might see somebody else step up too.
Yeah.
And something that I've been seeing is I started putting a team member into a general manager role, and then I sent them back to school for what's called a mini MBA. So getting some classes on business management and running P&L, stuff like that. And that's been a huge leverage of, like I said, people leaning in and taking more off my plate. He's doing that, but he's also listening really well when I'm having one-on-ones with him, or he's in other meetings. And I'm saying the reason, like one line that stood out to me this week was, we have the customer that's coming in now that 3 years ago, we bid that project. And now we have an opportunity to build a couple other machines for them. The goal that I said to him was, I want to land on the floor in MRS, and I want to build this other project for them as the proof of concept before they get that other cell running, just to prove why we're the right decision, and not say a single word about, you know, the other project. Just literally, let's execute the shit out of this. And he delivered that well in the all team meeting. Like, all right, this company's coming in. We have 2 high value projects that have a very high potential of closing, and this customer's like just down the road. Like, let's work with them. And so it was really cool to see that. But then just in general, I think the team's running better without me trying to do any operations. Like, it's weird for me to say that. The team runs better when I got out of engineering. Team's running better when I got out of operations. But we're back to my story is, have that person earn that operations role.
Oh yeah.
And then maybe it's somebody else you hire or you train them up into it would be probably the process. I mean, it took.
Well, yeah, I mean, I agree with you. I think that no one in the company right now can move up into that role.
Okay.
The only person that I tried to move up into that role was moved back down. So I just have to be aware of, like, okay, I need the outside talent. And yeah, it is crossing that chasm. Like, I'll be honest. Like, I have tried to hire, people before who I think I just cheaped out, right? Like, where the market rate, unfortunately, in LA is incredibly high, for, good talent. And, you put up a listing that caps out at 120, and then when you should be paying 150. I
don't think that's the case. I don't think you have to look at just pay. I personally think you're beating yourself up over that. What you did is you hired people that weren't bought into your mission. You know what?
Actually, right. Like, I think for the right person, the pay cap was too low. I'll be honest about that.
But now, they weren't the right person for your company then, though.
No. I'm saying, like we had the money, like we could have, but I think we didn't find the right person in the first place, and it was it was me being impatient. That was the core issue. I think this was a secondary issue.
I see what you're saying. Because I know, like, I talked to the team, and their goal is to grow this business. We've layered in the profit sharing. We've done things like that. We might not be the highest paying company out there,
Yeah.
But what we do is we give them opportunities to junior engineers that they wouldn't get elsewhere. I mean, we have engineers that just graduated from college less than 2 years ago running $1 million projects. Like, and they're crushing it. And so it's like they get some awesome opportunities there. And granted, the pay scale has to continue to go up as the company grows in value and these team members continue to execute. Otherwise, it's not sustainable. But in the short term, we have just extreme buy-in because they're into what we're building.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I have this right now with a shop hand. It was, we had this project and it was like, needed some CAD design. And I'm kind of offhand mentioning, he's like, well, I can try. And, and this happened while, I was on vacation, and then I see the result and I'm like, oh shoot. Then I can quickly see the trajectory of, okay, probably need to hire another shop hand if he continues at this rate. Right. Cause he needs to move up into probably a junior engineering role. I'm 100% on board with that, but I have to also look at, okay, I think this is a unique position where I don't have the person there. I have a broader shortage in general. And I need someone to take that lead of the R&D engineering over from me. And I'm just kind of I'm a part of a feedback loop and the setter of the directive rather than the core. Right. Mm-hmm.
Fair enough. On to CIs.
But yeah. On to CIs. Hiring is hard, yeah, and you get better at it every time, but it always sucks, right?
Yeah, I don't know if hiring always sucks. I don't mind hiring people. Like, I actually kind of enjoy it, but that might be just a personality difference between the two of us.
Yeah, I think a lot of it is just I think over time I've been just kind of gaining maturity everywhere in business and learning to let go faster when someone is not the right fit. I think, you do a disservice to everybody involved when you hold on to somebody who's not a right fit for the organization for too long. Mm-hmm. And also not being too hard on yourself, saying, a 50% success rate is not terrible. Like, in a certain position, right? You want it to be higher, right? But there's always a balance of like, how long and arduous of a hiring process do you have and how many applicants are you going to screen? And
yeah, that's a debate for another day because that's a tough one.
Yeah. Well, anyway, we'll move on to the next section.
Yeah. CIs. I've been going first a lot. You're up, Michael.
All right. Well, I didn't really do any CIs. I guess there's kind of the broader CI. One of the guys in my business owners group, one really inspired me to chill out. Runs a much bigger business and is just so much more calm about everything. He kind of was like, oh, someone threatens to sue me 3 times a week, like, right? Because just the scale of the business is so much bigger. And yeah, right. Well, someone else has, like a potential lawsuit and was like freaking out about it. And this guy's like, you'll be fine. It works out. Right. I think that was a real inspiration to me. And the other thing was I mentioned earlier, the idea of an exit strategy. And I know I'm kind of in it for the long haul, but just knowing I need a goal and the cascade of that is like, hey, there's something to the EOS thing. Small business flight plan is great, but it's pretty much the same thing. We already went down a lot of this route. Like, let's do the goals. Let's do the core values. Let's re-roll it out. Let's do it the right way. I'm going to try to gracefully and slowly roll that out to the team. And, once it's done.
I've found doing it slower works better. Maybe like one thing a quarter, and then just keep reiterating it throughout that quarter, having it top of mind. That's worked better within our organization rather than drink from a fire hose.
Yeah. And actually the guys on the floor made some, CIs, a couple fixing one piece of equipment, doing a CAD design rev update that probably I would have been stuck with. We have this little wire feed machine to cut wires to length and strip them automatically that we bought like 2 years ago that it never got implemented. And, seeing those things get implemented without me was very good. Mm-hmm. I'm very happy about that.
That's fun. Mine isn't too crazy for CIs as well as like the engineering and R&D. We have a lot of the stuff's been just getting the bigger projects swept off. The one that's starting is the one that I've been talking about for a long time is this AI sales tool and how we take the top of the funnel and our trade shows and try and augment's probably a better way. Automates, it's not fully automated. There's a lot of human touches still in it, but it's trying to increase our speed from time of meeting somebody to time of quoted project. How do we compress that as much as possible is the goal. And so we have some AI tools that we're building out. And it's interesting because you talked about how we needed to layer in Zapier and that to make it work with some of our Python scripts. And that's exactly what the software team pitched to me this week was like, hey, we were overthinking this, Matt. There's this tool called Zapier that once we were digging into, it's like, we're going to use this and then 20% is going to be our custom Python script. And that's going to be the kind of cream that we need to make the high value here.
Yeah, I'll actually push back. They're still overthinking it. The N8N is such a tool, and it's so protective that you can do a lot, if not almost all the same things you can do with, like Zapier is just kind of an interface, right, for the webhooks, to gather information or to send an email. N8N is all the stuff that Zapier is. And, if you have you used like, Node-RED or these kind of like drag and drop.
I shared the N8N with them. They actually decided against that.
Okay.
I think their biggest pushback is we've tried some of these for what we want it for. Their pushback was that they didn't have the trust in N8N because of the stability out there. And we've been hot to trot on newer softwares in the past, and it's burnt us on trying to manage the systems. And they're like, Matt, this is going on the top leading portion of our sales. It's meant to support you.
Yep.
We want stability. That's the priority here. That was their pushback on it to me because I asked them the same question.
I know I always play devil's advocate, and that's kind of my thing.
Yeah, I like it. No, because I had the same question for them. They're like, nope, you need stability on this process.
Yeah, technical risk is a real thing, and I don't know. To me, the biggest technical risk is not any of the tools or interfaces. It's not Zapier. It's not N8N. The LLMs are the biggest technical risk by a mile to me, because they change. I mean, we saw how bad Fixer got, so quickly, fast. And that's true with all the LLMs. They'll come out with a new version, and the big thing, like, are they able to integrate different LLMs without losing all the data, all the background?
Yep, that's what one of the metrics is. And then a portion of it is we have the bulk of the work where it's like hands-on keyboards is what they're using the LLMs to do the bulk of the work. But then there's going to be the 20% where it gets audited and then human touch layered back into it. Because it doesn't matter. AI still sounds like AI. And so we're more or less trying to figure out how do we just get all this stuff built out faster, and then we come in and put our sprinkle on it, if you will. But there's a decent amount of human touch points that we're putting into it still. So we're not losing the customer experience has been the huge theme that I've been pushing for the last 3 to 6 months, I would say, is we lost some of that over the last couple of years when we were going through some of our big growth curve. And it really kind of bothered me. It's like, we used to be so personable. It's like, I want that back where we mail more honey. We send more handwritten notes. It sounds weird, but I really enjoy those things, because especially in a day of AI, that those touch points need to come back.
Okay, I got two pieces of pushback for you.
Go for it.
The first is the idea that it always is going to sound like AI. Like if you guys haven't used Claude a lot, I would really try it and explicitly work on like prompt engineering it to where it's supposed to sound human.
Okay.
Right. And especially if you do things, and we haven't done this, to be fair, but I've seen how good it can be if you give it call transcripts of your voice, if you give it enough things. The level that it can impersonate a human to is scary.
Okay.
But if you're using chat or Grok or some of these other tools, the level between how human they sound is night and day.
Okay. I'll have the team check out Claude for that, because I know our marketing agency pushes Claude a lot too. They like it. For
copywriting and for code. For everything else, it is utter garbage.
Okay.
Which is strange, right? And I'm almost like, it's almost like you have to use a different tool. You just do. Like, if I want something that's easy and agent based, I use Perplexity and I use Comment now just to generate HubSpot quotes, and it just does it. And it's like having built out an agent without having done any of it.
Nice.
Chat for like general whatever instead of Google. And then Claude is amazing for copywriting.
Okay.
What was the other thing I was going to say? Can you recap what you just told me again?
Basically human touch points, getting back a personal flair of not going back to the level that I used to do when I started the business, but getting closer to it.
Yeah. I guess I'm going the other way, where like I think I've been overly involved in things, right? And like even the sales things, I think about like as I was too aggressively going for deals, maybe promising lead times I shouldn't have, and putting strain on the team, or offering a discount I shouldn't have offered. And I kind of look at like, well, what would Haas or DN Solutions do there, right? Um, and obviously we want a level of personability and access that's far superior to that at the scale. But
And I think the thing I forgot or should have put in there is it's the deals that I think are the ones that are strategic for develop. Is how do we create more time that like I can actually get back to those 20%. I'm not saying every packaging and palletizing line should get this. It's the ones that if we create that relationship similar to a couple that we have right now where they're signing follow-on projects because we're a close integrator, we've started understanding their machine. How do I lean into those for like the 2 deals that I have coming in this week that are very close to our facility? And if we create strategic relationships with them, it's good for both parties. And those are the ones I want to give more attention to.
Yep. Like I guess kind of to your point, when I had all these issues with like collecting AR, and I rewrote all of our like core values. And one of them, and this sounds so cheesy, and I just couldn't figure out a better way to put it, but is we make miracles happen. And the idea, like we had this turnkey where the machine was spec'd totally wrong, and we put like I don't know 60 hours digging through the FANUC parameters to make the machine do something it shouldn't have been able to do, right? To like basically replace the option that was supposed to be purchased there. And I was so proud of having done that. And of course, it turned out later down the road that something else was misinstalled and it caused a false e-stop error, and it was confirmed to totally not be our fault. But I want to definitely keep that level of personality and touch to the company. But I also added this, the next core value is reciprocity. And, when this particular customer did not pay their bill, I'm like, okay, this is where the miracles stop, right? And I went so far as to say, hey, we're going to make customer scorecards. You fall below average, there's no miracles, right? There's no expedites, there's no policy exceptions.
So that's called, A, B, and C clients. Develop's done that for the last 5 years.
Yep.
You have to rate them. And sometimes an A client can make you feel like you want to downgrade them, Michael. This has been from my experience. But before you just downgrade or upgrade clients, I like to reflect, having done this more and more, because sometimes some of my A clients that have made me frustrated or made me want to downgrade them was actually them forcing me or challenging me to level up, which they made them a better A client. Just 1 point there. Once you go down the scorecards, it can become easier to become twofold.
That's a very good point. And as we deal with like bigger corporate clients, like their job is to be an asshole, right? Like their job is to like hoard onto money, like some dragon out of Lord of the Rings, that and to pay and to use their vendors as a bank. And I think that's probably where a lot of my pain has come from is we've kind of leveled up the tier and size of clients, but haven't changed our policies to make sure we're collecting on that money the way we should.
Yeah, that's my only tidbit, scorecards, because I know my past experience, but
no, that's great feedback.
Personal segment, we both were supposed to focus on ourselves and our family. It sounds like you definitely made that happen.
For once.
I don't think I got to focus as much as you did, but it was still a very rewarding week. Milo actually crawled this week, so that was very exciting for me. So that was something, and now he is like on the move on everything and pulling himself up on everything. So it's like, oh gosh, now I'm literally just sprinting around the house.
Yep.
So that's my little tidbit from the week.
Cool. I think mine is, and we ended up canceling our vacation, and Priscilla, my wife, was like, oh, we shouldn't do this. This was, a couple weeks prior. And this was kind of like an impromptu replacement vacation. And I was just reflecting. I'm like, yeah, she was right. I needed this vacation. And now I'm trying to be like, okay, like we need to like make a budget. We need to say, okay, we're doing this many trips a year. Like, because I work so much and I work so hard, like I need to build in that time, and I need to do it systematically.
Yeah, you need to do them well in advance. So you can typically only buy airfare 6 months in advance. That's typically
Yep.
our rule for booking. When we pick a date and we book them that far out, that's the only way I found. Otherwise, vacations
Yep.
never happen for me.
Yep.
So,
and slowly learning, like, your wife is almost always right. I mean, not just saying that because she edits the podcast. And I guess the last thing is the what's our like accountability item? What do we want to say we're going to do for next week in review?
mine is I have two things that I'm kind of, because I laid out my week already. So I need to give a couple team members a lot of support because they're taking some stuff off my plate and stuff on the top of sales and marketing. So I need to create time for them. And then it's also, I need to create time for a couple key accounts that are coming on site and some calls that I have. Like, it's interesting. I feel like what I need to do is not, I'm going to say this. I don't know. I need to not do anything. I literally just need to be there
Right.
and ready for support and be top frame of mind when I'm having a couple of these key account meetings. That's literally,
Yeah.
if I'm going to win this week, that's what I need to do. Is my headspace needs to be clear and I need to be ready to support these team members to the level they need and these potential clients. So
Yeah,
probably that is make sure I get home, work out, have family time again, so I can, when I am there, I'm as present as possible. Because I know when I tick past that 60 hours a week, all of a sudden my quality goes to crap.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And I'm glad you narrowed it down to one, because we were doing that for a while where we're like, oh, I should do this and this and this. And
Yeah.
yeah. Well, I guess I'll do the same thing on mine and kind of throw out some of them. Like I definitely need to start, like last time when I had a big pain and kind of, something almost broke, in US they call it hitting the ceiling. Like when you're at the next level and you have to do something differently or you're not going to get to the next level at all. You'll just stay stuck. I started rolling out like new standardizations and policies and I think I need to start rolling out that process. I'm pretty convinced that the right thing to do, our working hours are pretty standardized. I think we can kind of keep that where it is, but, standardize things like, now that our work mix has more T&M, like, work from home just doesn't work really anymore. Making sure that everyone's 100% clear on, here are the expectations, here's, and along with that, I think the biggest thing I need to be better at is doing like regular one-on-ones with staff. I think actually that'll be
Every 90 days. That needs to be your goal.
Yeah.
I've done 90 days since I started developing hiring people. It's something I rolled out at Ring Brothers because I hated annual reviews that I had at previous employers.
Yeah.
It's just not a fast enough cadence.
Right. And I almost wonder if like every 30 is right.
You have undocumented 30s. So you at least,
gotcha. Yep.
So the way I do it is, the reason I rolled out 90 days is and I say this to every team member that starts with us, is it's accountability both ways. When I used to work at other companies, I got paid in a lot of promises. I don't want anybody that ever works at Develop to feel like they got paid in a promise. The best way to do that is if I promise you something, I'm going to put it in writing. And it's going to go the same way towards you. If you promise me and we create an accountability of what you're going to do over the next 90 days, we're going to put it in writing. And then that's really helped create accountability going both ways, because it is a relationship where you shouldn't be afraid to talk about performance. You shouldn't be afraid to talk about pay. And that's the way that I've found a way to break down that layer. And then the way that I check in is it's kind of impromptu. It's usually end of day, you'll have these conversations, or beginning a day, you'll just have them. And I just try and make sure I have at least one good heart-to-heart's the wrong way to put it, but it's kind of what it feels like with team members. And I try and increase that or maintain a frequency of, ideally you do it once a week, but that's just not sustainable once you have so many team members.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. And yeah, just like putting things in systematically too. Like I should just put these as like recurring calendar invites, and then you don't forget, right?
I can share that template that I found, because I've gone through a lot of revisions on that. Something you'll note when you get it is I put our entire comp package at the top, because there's a lot more that goes into a person's salary than their hourly wage or salary. So, we have our health benefits, our 401k and stuff like that. So it's showing that dollar of the full package is what we do. because we might have not have the highest pay out there, but I've heard for a small business, we're more than beyond competitive on the benefits.
Yeah, same here. I've always just been struggled to do it at the higher levels, and I think that's where I need one thing too that I know this is kind of off topic of the accountability thing that I need to work on. I do want to figure out a way that and I don't know if you've done this, that someone who is a C player versus an A player, right? Making sure that their comp actually reflects the performance delta. And I haven't found a good like systematic structural way to do that meets expectations.
It's tough. I don't have a good answer for that, because I know I've gone through that one as well. Or that's such a tough one. I think the way I've taken it is, rather than try and adjust their comp for that, I just accept that that's their current position, and I go, how do I turn them into an A or off the bus?
Yeah, right.
And so you have to ask the question is, can you get them to the next level as your company grows? And how do you go about doing that? And it's usually some really tough 90 days. Like some of those team members that I've leveled up over the years, we've typically had some very candid 90 days that we couldn't finish in like an hour and a half. And then we followed up the week after we both had some time to talk. And like, all right, that was a really good review of both of us. And it was, it took a lot of thought afterwards. And then we come back together. And those usually, when team members are willing to do that versus check out, those are the ones that I see step up the most. The ones that get defensive or try and stay in the position that they were in, it's like, you made it clear you're not wanting to get better.
Yeah, 100%. And we went through that. The reality is some of the people who got you here won't get you there. And we went through that phase when we hit the ceiling the first time, as we rolled more and more into the automation business and kind of wound down our old business, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. I've just been very retrospective and like very high level, and I'm a lot more calm. I think you can feel all that.
We'll see what it's like next week after a week back in the saddle.
Yeah. That's a good point of feedback.
Yeah. So, well, it's probably a good way to wrap it up, actually.
Yeah, well, let's end it there. Share the podcast with somebody. Give it a 5-star review, hopefully, or any review, and that still helps us. Thanks so much for listening. Thank you so much for listening to Matt and I's conversation this week on the Manufacturing Automation Podcast. If you like the podcast, please share it with a friend or give us a 5-star review on Spotify or Apple Podcasts. We'll be back next week to continue sharing our respective journeys in life, business, and industrial automation. Thanks so much.